I'd now like to welcome Councillor Stephen Alambritis, who is leader of the council in the London Borough of Merton. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Alicia, very much for that kind introduction. I was for a number of years Head of Public Affairs at the Federation of Small Businesses, and I think that's why I've been asked to make this very short presentation about SMEs in Cyprus, in particular the opportunities that natural gas reserves hold, provided of course we restructure SMEs in Cyprus, and that is the element of my talk today, and that is the importance of restructuring SMEs so they're in a position to take advantage of natural gas reserves and the opportunities that Lagis spoke about. Let's look at the numbers game first for Cyprus, very similar to the UK in terms of percentages. 99% of all companies in Cyprus are small or medium-sized enterprises. That means they're either self-employed or they employ up to 10 people, that's micro, or they're small, that's employment about up to 150 people. But they do account for 83% of all employment, of all jobs in Cyprus. And those stats are roughly similar to here, and I'll go on to the actual numbers later. The sectors that SMEs dominate are tourism, financial services and real estate. And what we want to get to in 20 years' time is that Cypriot SMEs dominate natural gas reserve industry as well, rather than big players come and once again extrapolate from Cyprus, take what is best from Cyprus and take it with them elsewhere. We want it to stay within Cyprus, we want the contracts to stay within Cyprus, and that's hugely important. In terms of the numbers game, there are actually only 42,000 companies in Cyprus. 41,000 are small. But together, they employ 236,000 people. 196,000 of those are employed in small businesses. There are only 79 large companies in Cyprus, big companies, and that's very interesting. In the UK, the figures are bigger, but roughly similar in terms of percentages. 5 million small businesses in the UK, 1 million medium-sized companies, and about 9,000 very large companies. So 5 million small, 9,000 large. In Cyprus, 42,000 small, 80 huge companies. And it's quite interesting how these come about. But Cyprus is very entrepreneurial. It's one of the most entrepreneurial countries in the European Union. On my patch of the London Borough of Merton, I have, with his headquarters, Theopapidis, one of the most entrepreneurial Greek Cypriots. And there's Stelios Hagiano, I don't know where he is, but it would be great to have him in my borough as well. But I see Theo very regularly. He's just bought Robert Dysart. So he's got Ryman's, the stationers, and he's now got Robert Dysart, the hardware store. So Greek Cypriots are very entrepreneurial. 32% of the Greek Cypriot population is in business or wants to go in business. The average for the EU is 23%. So very, very entrepreneurial nation. I saw that in my father. I run my own small business myself. We have teachers in Cyprus who are self-employed, have jobs running small businesses. So that's very good. The 66% of the population in Cyprus hankers to be self-employed. That's just 45% in the EU. So we are an extremely entrepreneurial nation, and long may that continue. Now, the sad thing about the situation in Cyprus is that there is a yearning need for an SME policy that is not Euro-based, that is a policy for SMEs in Cyprus. And there is no evidence of a dedicated SME policy purely for Cyprus. What's happened since we joined the EU, we've latched onto their SME policies, and that's not the way forward. So there is some fragmentation of policies. So and the enterprise policy in Cyprus is skewed towards the big companies. So we need to pull that back. So it is towards Cypriot small businesses. So Cypriots more are going through a restructuring. Obviously, they do restructure themselves by bankruptcy or closure, and 50% close within their first 3 years, and that's standard. It's what's called the American ethos of creative destruction. You allow as many to set up and not worry that a number of them are going to close, because hopefully some will stick, like Theo Pafidis or Richard Branson's business or Stelios Hagianou. They went through issues, they weren't whiter than white, they made mistakes, they went to court, they owed money, but they stuck, and now hopefully they employ thousands of people. The other kind of restructuring that can take place in Cyprus amongst small businesses is mergers and acquisitions. That's mainly amongst large firms, and energy and utilities tend to increasingly getting together, getting ready for the natural gas reserve kick-off. In terms of business expansion, the yearning in Cyprus is to be in control. Most firms in Cyprus are family-owned firms. They worry about bringing in outsiders. So there are a lot of small firms in Cyprus that are ripe for growth, that are ready, huge potential, but the owner-manager worries because they want to keep that family control of the business. And if you look at a large number of Cypriot families, businesses, they're named after a family, after a surname. And that's the family business element. There's nothing wrong in that, but I think it just gives the game away that the vast majority of firms in Cyprus are family orientated. In terms of exporting is going up in Cyprus, and that is good, and that is to be welcome. But how do we make sure that Cyprus, Greek Cypriot companies take advantage of the opportunities of the natural gas reserve that are about to appear? Well, they need to restructure, but there are issues that they come up against in terms of needing to restructure, and the Cyprus government needs to address these issues quick, so that we are patriotic about our gas reserves, so that every penny, every pound is kept within Cyprus, and we don't lose it frittering away by giving it to companies from abroad. I'm talking about the subcontracts and the supply contracts and so on. So, but they do need to restructure to take advantage, but there are concerns with labour, the labour gap, technical gap, premises gap, finance gap, and working capital gap. And we need more capital to be allocated. Businesses to need more of their capital to be able to save more of their profits before tax, so they have capital to take advantage, and that's crucially important. So that's the fiscal side. We also need to internationalise our businesses in Cyprus, and we need to look at the barriers there. And the barriers there are the lack of information to analyse foreign markets. Government needs to help businesses to be able to analyse that, and inefficiencies in human resources in Cyprus amongst businesses, where they don't tackle human resource issues, where promotion of those who have ideas, have smart ideas, is kept because of the way in which promotion within Cyprus has been stultified by a move to gerontocracy or seniority within an organisation. So HR issues need to be addressed in Cyprus, and that's why the Cyprus government needs to bring in the best in HR training in the world to arrive in Cyprus to help Cyprus companies. There's obviously limitations in logistics and promotional activities abroad. We need to do what we have here, which is UKTI, United Kingdom Trade and Investment, where businesses are hugely encouraged to export. Other barriers, government rules, barriers to internationalisation of Cyprus companies. There's a lot of competition abroad, of course. They're in keen competition. That's something that we need to fight. Rules abroad are different. There's more transparency. Procurement issues are very, very, very tough. And it's not beyond the realms here in the UK for a company to pitch for a contract that's worth 100,000, but it's costing it 10,000 to pitch, and it will pitch at 10,000, and it will put that cost against its tax. So you could pitch for a 5 million contract and pay 100 grand or 200 grand, You may not get it, but this is what happens here. This is what we need to do in Cyprus, to see if the government can help Cypriot companies to pitch. I've got language difference, but there's no language differences at all. Greek is spoken throughout the world. So conclusions, we need an SME promotions council. This was suggested by the Cyprus government in 2004. Where is it? We need to remind the Cyprus government decisions must be followed through. As leader of a council, I have decisions to take every day. You do not wrap them up, you take decisions as they come through. You are respected for taking decisions. One or two might get wrong, but you must take decisions. Although I'm talking against him now, I'm a Labour leader of a council in Merton. Gordon Brown, that's what went wrong with Gordon. Decisions just stacked up. They weren't taken. This is what went wrong with Christofias. Decisions stacking up. You've got cabinet members, you've got people ready to go. You've got to take those decisions. So an SME promotions council is very important, so that decisions are taken quickly, so that we take full advantage of what's coming through. And as Ladi said, gas-based industries will proliferate. We want them to be Greek Cypriot companies that take advantage. We want employees. We want favourable status for Greek Cypriots for jobs. So if you want a contract around natural gas reserves, the first 50 jobs or the first 50% of jobs you create will go to Greek Cypriots. I know it's difficult, but we need to hint at that initially. And then finally, obviously the reduction in electricity cost that London referred to should provide more income for people to spend in other areas as well. So I know that's a quick and dirty trawl through the importance of SMEs in Cyprus, very crucial as it is throughout the world. They create jobs. As here, if you give a contract here to a company locally, £8 in tech stays locally. If you give it to a company abroad, then you lose that £8, all you keep is £2. So if we give the contracts to overseas companies in Cyprus, we'll lose most of that money. It won't stay local. Thank you very much.